Welcome to Will and Mark's Healthy Sports Obsession. I'm Will Hubner here with Mark Mashashik. We are two doctors of physical therapy, and we are here to answer your PT questions as well as give our take on current sporting events from a health perspective. As always, send your questions to willandmarkshso@gmail.com, and we will answer them on the show. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode, Will and Mark's Healthy Sports Obsession. We got a great episode today. We're going to start off with some corrections from our previous podcast. We got some feedback from listeners saying that there are some, remember we were talking about Daniel Jones?
Yep.
And you mentioned that Daniel needs to change his name to Danny because there's not many Daniels in professional sports.
Yeah.
And we got a comment saying Daniel Cormier.
Yeah, I still am going to stand by it. It's like the difference between a team sport and an individual athlete like Daniel Cormier, the UFC heavyweight champion. I think like your teammates are not going to call, hey, Daniel, William, how are you today? No, I think your teammates call you Danny. I'll stand by it. It's okay.
Okay.
I get it.
You think they call him Dimes maybe in New York?
Oh, they got to call him Dimes.
Yeah. Other comments we got was kinesiotape. So some of the PTs gave us some feedback on kinesiotape, saying that the direction that you place the tape on does matter, whether it's insertion to origin or origin to insertion. You had some thoughts about kind of just anatomy.
Yeah, just, or the end that's contracting towards the joint, which is boring PT talk, but it can change whether you're open chain or closed chain. So turning a muscle on or off using kinesiotape can be maybe it depends on the function that you're trying to get the patient to do. But yeah, some PTs saying they think they think it matters. I think it's different schools of thought on kinesiotaping classes.
Yeah, well, I think most of the research is done with insertion to origin and origin to insertion, kind of just the amount of muscle activation, what it's truly doing.
Is it shutting it down or is it activating it?
Right. So, but I think like you're saying, there's still debate. I think there's still a lot of other PTs with different schools of thought saying that things could be differently.
Yeah.
And then just to talk a little bit about, we're not going to spend too much time, but just spin rate in baseball, which is kind of an interesting concept.
Mm-hmm.
So Max Scherzer has one of the highest spin rates in all of baseball. I think it's by quite a landslide. Like the number 2 guy has, I think, 200 less revolutions per second than he does. And what does that really mean? Why is Max Scherzer so effective? Well, spin rate's going to keep the ball elevated a little bit more. So Max Scherzer likes to stay at the top of the strike zone and kind of keep it elevated.
Not to mention the velocity of the ball is actually moving faster. So he's more likely to be a fly ball home run guy as opposed to someone like Fetty who has a lower spin rate. And
right, so lower spin rate will drop it a little bit, so you keep it down. So anytime you're basically talking about, you hear announcers saying this guy's a fly ball pitcher, this guy's ground ball pitcher, what they're really talking about is their spin rate. So we're going to dive into a lot of that in a future episode. We're going to bring on some baseball guys to talk about that. So look forward to that. We're going to go over, we got a couple of listener questions today. So the first one, just going to read it. Should players and fans have the power to remove an owner from his or her team? For example, the Redskins and Dan Snyder situation. It's been years since this organization has won a Super Bowl or even a playoff game, and Dan has made a number of decisions that have hurt the team.
This is Chris Fairfax?
Yes, Chris from Fairfax.
What do you think, Will? The answer is definitely yes, they should be able to.
Yeah, but I don't think that's realistic. I mean, unless there's like a specific situation if it's just making bad football decisions, I don't think that you should be able to remove an owner because it's his team. But
right.
if there is some other type of issue, if there's what was
Sterling? Was it Sterling?
Right, Sterling. So he got called out for racism comments, and
they got him out.
Yeah. So there's a lot of speculation you were talking about with that situation that they may have wanted him out for other reasons. Like it could have been a situation where some of the information was planted and they kind of set him up a little bit.
I think the DC taxpayers' money is being spent the wrong way. I think they should Green Bay Packers this and just have the city buy the team, which is worth $3.1 billion from Snyder, and let the taxpayers own them.
But even if, so say somebody had $3.1 billion.
It doesn't mean he'd sell it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. But do you think in general should
It would be cool if we could find a way where the Packers, the actual the community owns the team. It's like owned by I think it's owned by somehow the community, and they have like a board, and it runs through the board, and it's not an actual just owner. They've got a CEO who runs it, and he's accountable for his decisions. And it'd be really cool if we could run all teams like that. But like I said, we live in a capitalistic country. Capitalism's usually a good thing. Stinks for Redskins fans.
I do always wonder kind of how many choices are truly the owner making the decisions, or is it, the people he's put into place to make the roster personnel decisions?
I remember Warren Sapp did a story once when he when he signed with the Raiders. He said a player sitting next to him said, "Oh, this is going to be a Hail Mary," and Warren went, "How do you know?" And he's like, "Al Davis just called down. He only calls down to call in Hail Marys."
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. If I owned an NFL football team, I think I would have to meddle with it. I'd want to be involved, and I think I would always say it's a terrible decision. But
he's been around for a while, though.
Since they've been bad, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so Chris, I would say no, you should not be able to remove him. In theory, you should be able to, but in my opinion, it's still his team, his decision. I don't think he's like personally trying to sabotage the team by any means.
I don't think he thinks he is, but
I'm sure he gets a lot of criticism from fans writing in, and obviously ticket sales have been, I think, down.
Yeah, they're 1-5.
Yeah, they just won. We're talking about this. They're coming off a win.
They shouldn't have won the game. They should be tanking. I don't know. We got to see what Haskins has. When are we going to see Haskins?
Well, we saw him once.
Yeah, that wasn't
bad.
good.
But it sounds like the offense was not catered to Haskins.
Chris, it's a great question. We want you to write in and come up with a financial plan where we could try to buy the team off Snyder.
Sounds good.
I'm in.
Now, our next question we have comes from Hubert from Fairfax, Virginia again. So Hubert writes, I know Achilles tears are one of the most devastating for pro athletes. I understand different people have different bodies and all that. But how can Emmanuel Sanders, at 32 years old, recover as quickly from his Achilles injury in a sport that is so much more harmful to the body, while John Wall is sitting out 2 seasons after falling in the shower? On a side note, I'm so glad Grunfeld is out. The guy threw around absurd amounts of money at questionable players. He was only bidding against himself with the Gilbert Arenas contract and then made the same mistake again with Wall. He's gone, but now we enter the first year of Wall's $170 million contract. SMH, shaking my head.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. What Emmanuel Sanders did is unprecedented. And I think some of the things you bring up in there, the fact that he is 32 years old, I actually see as a benefit to him in this issue. Not obviously tissue healing isn't as good as we age, but 32 is still young, and I think it's toward the end of his NFL career. I think if he was 27, he may have sat out longer, saying, well, let's just get ready for next year. This is sort of the end of the career for Sanders, so he wants to push to get out there and play. For his timeline, it was unbelievable. No one believed he could do that.
So it was like I think December 5th is when they reported that he tore his Achilles, so we're assuming that the surgery was very shortly after.
Right.
And he came back, we know he played week 1, September 8th.
So
probably was practicing a little bit.
That's 8 months. That's unbelievable. Some of the things about NFL football being a harder sport in your body, to be honest, for the Achilles tendon, the NBA is probably a much more difficult sport. It's a jumping sport. It's the main jumping tendon and muscle. It takes the most force in your entire body. Like I said, what Emmanuel Sanders did was incredible to be able to come back. But like you said, different bodies are different and different injuries are different. We don't have, we tried to look, we don't have a lot of information how severe the tear was to either of them.
Well, we know John Wall, that they were saying it was not fully torn muscle or tendon, but that they were concerned that if they don't do it now, he's already sitting out 6 to 8 months for the haggling.
Right, it's just gonna happen anyway. And we saw with Durant maybe there was something going on there. I heard a surgeon refer to Steve Smith's repaired Achilles that when he opened the lower leg, it looked like chewed up raw chicken. So I think in different injuries with the Achilles, we can see a vast difference in tissue quality, how much of the tendon was damaged, how long is it? Is it a very horizontal damage? Is there a vertical nature to it? So there's just too many factors that go into it that we don't know. I'm sure Emmanuel's was not as bad as some other ones for him to do this. Not to discredit him at all. What he's done is amazing to come back and play. Unfortunately, he did have a knee injury this week. A lot of lower right leg injuries in his career. Something that goes back to what we've talked about with compensation and, you got to stay on your motor control in your areas where you've had injuries.
Well, it's interesting. So with Emmanuel Sanders coming back so quickly, that kind of 7.5 to 8 months. If he was going to get injured, you would think it would be beginning of the season, because every week that he lasts in the NFL season, it's another week of healing time. So the longer he goes without the injury, actually, the less likely he is to get injured, at least to re-tear that Achilles.
The biggest downside to Emmanuel Sanders coming back early is all our high school athletes are going to think they can do it in 8 months, and you're not Emmanuel Sanders.
And yeah, when you're thinking about
The
Emmanuel
amount of rehab
Sanders,
he would
yeah,
was getting.
he's getting like, what do you think, 8 hours of rehab a day?
Yeah.
At least.
They're doing
right?
everything. They're injecting that thing up with stem cells. And
It was interesting. So we read a report that, like, I think it was 2 weeks after the Achilles surgery, he had that tightrope surgery where they kind of drill that hole between the tibia and fibula. And we're not sure exactly why he had that done. Usually it's done with a syndesmosis injury or a part of the sheath that kind of connects
yeah, you
those
wonder
two
if
bones.
it's something that they picked up and noticed during the surgery. Because usually if you're going to have that, you'd think they'd just do it all at once. They're already cutting you open.
Yeah, it's also interesting with the tightrope surgery. It's usually like a quick fix, like a way to quickly, you can get back in play like within a matter of weeks.
Sure.
With this, they just had the Achilles surgery, so you know he's going to be out. Most would think at least 9 months to a year. He came back obviously sooner than that.
Right.
But you'd think, I don't know, they might do a different surgery perhaps because there's not that immediate time crunch.
Yeah, I don't know why they. Yeah, that is a little perplexing to me as well.
Yeah. Any surgeons that are out there listening and have any ideas about why they may have done a tightrope surgery versus maybe a different injury, or why, maybe, I don't know, they didn't.
Let's go over to John Wall though.
Sure.
Let's look at the timeline for this. Why is it so much longer for Wall?
Well, first off, so it wasn't initially just an Achilles injury. He'd been playing with what he said was heel pain for quite a long time, and he never got anything done. He just kind of played through it.
So we found out he had what it was called a Haglund deformity, which is just a little bone spur growth underneath your Achilles.
Right in the heel.
Bone grows as a result to stress, so hyper stress to that area, and he's growing a little bone spur. So they went in, the initial surgery was just to remove this deformity.
Correct, and that typically takes what they were saying was 6 to 8 months to recover.
And the reason for that, the reason for the recovery is because the Achilles is vulnerable at that time.
Sure. So then whatever, there's a lot of talk. If you Google it, you're going to see that, and it's always in quotation marks, but he slipped and fell in his house, like walk into the shower. There's something to do with the shower. But with the Haglund deformity and a weak Achilles, maybe he should not have been weight bearing quite as quickly as he did.
Yeah, the concern is, was he just not following his precautions? I'm 33 years old. I'm not a professional athlete. I've taken a shower after a couple of beers. I've never slipped and fallen in the shower in my entire life. I don't know. It just doesn't. I don't know. I don't totally buy it. I think
It's
maybe
an interesting analogy of drinking a couple beers to having a boot on your foot.
he's a professional athlete. You can't stand on one leg in the shower?
I don't know the details.
I've got a lot of patients who've had Haglund deformity removed and Achilles repaired. None of them ever slipped in the shower. John Wall, professional athlete, slipping in the shower.
Right. So you're saying it's a cover-up.
Yeah.
That he broke precautions.
I think so.
Didn't want to. That's an interesting question in terms of contract. If you get a surgery, obviously you're still paid. If you do something and break precautions intentionally, does that then hurt your contract?
Yep. Shower slip. Don't buy it. Don't know.
But anyway, so he's
Follow
recovering
your
from
surgical
that.
precautions, though. For
So
God's sake.
he's recovering from
Regardless.
that, and then what they found was that on an MRI, that his Achilles tendon was torn, not fully torn,
From this
but partially
shower
torn.
slip.
So I think if it was in a regular situation, he has to play. He's already out 6 to 8 months, so we're not far into that. It was like January to February, I believe.
Right.
So he's already going to be out another 5 to 7 months. You got this Achilles tear. You know that's going to take, well, with Emmanuel Sanders less, but usually 9 months to a year. So now, why wouldn't you do the surgery? Why are we going to risk having a slightly torn
But the question
Achilles?
is, why are they saying 16 months for Wall, and we saw Sanders come back in, it seems like 8 or 9? The question is, first of all, don't know tissue quality. Could be worse. Basketball is a more difficult sport on the Achilles, and John Wall hasn't done it yet.
You're also healing from 2 surgeries now.
Sure.
2 separate surgeries.
Sure. We haven't. This hasn't happened with Emmanuel Sanders. We have the proof in the pudding because he already did it. With Wall, could he come back this year? It's possible. I mean, he could come.
That's what I don't understand. So we're talking, if he misses the entire season, we're talking 16 months, right? Like it was February. So theoretically, by January I would be thinking John Wall should be at least testing it out, ready to go. We still got 5 months of the season left at that point. Why are we ruling it out already?
I think John Wall's already sent the text to Emmanuel Sanders. What the hell, bro? You're gonna make me try to look that. You're trying to make me look that. He could play this year. I wouldn't. I think 9 months is too fast. I would again, on a 32-year-old receiver, and you're toward the end of your career, and you want to get out there and play. I get that. Wall is 31. They're heavily invested in him. I would say play it safe, but the Wizards aren't going to be in the playoffs, so it's like, could he come back for the playoffs? Probably, but
it's debatable.
Is it?
They've been pretty bad in recent years. They're typically around that kind of 6 to 8 spot.
6 to 8, really? It doesn't feel like it.
Yeah. But anyways, maybe that's a good point. So at 32 years old, and John Wall doesn't have the max contract, and it's kind of I won't say the end of his career, but getting there, right? Maybe you do push it a little bit, and maybe you come back quicker. There's 170 million reasons why the Wizards want him long term.
It's a bad situation altogether. I would say it's just easier to say now. He's not going to play this year, and if he's feeling great and everything looks great in February, March next year, he'll say, "Oh, it's a speedy recovery." It's easier to say the long term, and then if it ends up being shorter, it looks good. If they say he's coming back in February, and this recovery is just going slower, which it could absolutely be expected, you don't look as bad.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Ted Leonsis is coming out and saying likely to miss all next year. Well, maybe he has more information. I'm sure he does have more information than we do. He's definitely not a medical guy. I would be shocked if he's not testing it out beforehand. And if the Wizards are in any shape or form near playoff contention, and we don't have a great backup point guard right now, I would expect him to make a return if there's a reason for him to return.
I would push him to not do it. Just the amount of, we look at the two sports, running versus jumping. Not that you don't have to jump in football, but the amount, I would like to know the newtons that go through the Achilles during eccentric loading of the Achilles coming down from a jump and pushing off to go through a jump compared to just running. I bet it's like, well, it's got to be. It's all your body weight, so it's probably tenfold.
Answer me this. Cousins, Boogie, right? He's Achilles surgery.
Yep.
He's kind of on the lighter end of his career. Doesn't have that huge contract. He made $5 million last year. Now he's probably making even less. How long do you think it'll take him? You think it'll take him longer or less?
Boogie already came back from it. This is the new injury on Boogie is the quad.
Oh, that's right. How long did it take Boogie to come back?
Boogie came back, but again, it's
normal amount of time.
Normal, a year.
Yeah.
But again, a very different type of athlete than John Wall. John Wall really relies on being able to be an explosive jumper for his shot, for his coming off the dribble and coming up to the hoop. Boogie's vertical might be like 10 inches. John Wall's is 40. A lot more force.
John Wall's missed a decent amount of time over the past few years with just various injuries, lower leg injuries.
Yeah.
Do you think this could be part of that?
Well, we saw it on Emmanuel
chronic
Sanders.
Pain situation where maybe he's starting to his body's starting to wear down. He's the type of guy that's
nothing's
full
come
speed
up
all
with,
the time.
Nothing's come up with pain on him. He's not having a pain issue. I'm not. He's toward the end of his career, sort of, and he's coming off this massive injury. We'll see. I don't think it's a good situation.
Yeah.
I think it's the worst contract in the NBA right now, right?
Oh, yeah. It reminds me, so I'm a Wizards fan, Orioles fan, Ravens fan. Mm-hmm. It reminds me right now, you got the Orioles who are paying Chris Davis this ungodly amount of money.
Would you rather have the Chris Davis contract or the John Wall contract? If you had to be an owner, you own both teams. Which one's bumming you out worse?
Oh, Chris Davis for sure. I would rather have John Wall.
Because at least there's hope for John Wall.
There's hope for John Wall. All right, so let's move on from the Achilles and go to kind of a fun one, right? So
another fun one.
Let's pick it up. So
we love to have fun here.
Game 2 of the Nationals Cardinals. I think it was a 1-1 game. Adam Eaton comes up, hits a 2-run double. They end up winning 3-1. After the game, they're interviewing Adam Eaton, and they're talking about, what was going through your mind. And he said, all game long, everything I thought was going to happen, I was wrong. So I just decided it made him think of George Costanza from Seinfeld, Lord of the Idiots, George Costanza.
Right.
And he said there was an episode where George was just, everything he did, he decided to do the opposite, and things started working out for him.
If I think I'm supposed to do this, just do the opposite.
So he got in a 3-2 count, and I guess for whatever in Adam Eaton's head, he thought of George Costanza, and he said, I think this is going to be a heater. I'm going to look curveball.
No, I'm just going to swing for a curveball.
Gets a breaking ball, hits a 2-run double, and I don't know how you do not like Adam Eaton. He's a good guy anyway, but after hearing a story like that, that's incredible.
It makes you more likely. He's our George Costanza.
Yeah. So we had the idea of, well, if Adam Eaton saying he's George Costanza,
Who are the rest of the Nats for Seinfeld?
who's the rest of the Nats
cast?
for Seinfeld? Yeah. So let's go over some.
All right, give me one.
Did you do Jerry?
I didn't get Jerry. Who you got for Jerry?
Well, I got Jerry. Anthony Rendon. I just think everybody likes Jerry.
That's true.
Everybody likes Anthony Rendon. He can do it all. He's a likable guy. He's not going to get up in your face. He's just kind of this laid back, good guy.
I'll give you my Rendon. I went Lloyd Braun.
Remind me who Lloyd
Braun is like George's. It's
He's a salesman guy.
It's his childhood best friend, and his mother's always saying, "Why can't you be more like Lloyd Braun?" I could see a lot of people just saying, like, "Why can't you play baseball more like Anthony Rendon?"
Okay,
it's just
that's true.
Little perfectionism. He's very good.
Speaking of Anthony Rendon, were you shocked at all that the Nats, and this is just when it was reported, but the Nats offer him this massive contract like a week before the wild card game?
Yeah, I'm not shocked. I don't know.
No? You always hear players, don't bother me with distractions. We're going to talk about this at the end of the season. It's like just the cliche thing you say.
I think they're just trying to get him for that money before he hits a game-winning home run in the World Series, and they've got to pay him more. I don't think he's thinking about it, though.
Yeah. So George is obviously Adam Eaton.
Yep.
Did you do one for Elaine?
I don't have an Elaine.
Elaine, she's just like a very emotional character, high energy. I went with, what's his name, Geraldo Parra, the baby shark guy. He's always kind of the scrappy, emotional guy, always doing the baby shark thing, getting the players into it.
Good one.
The other one I went with, just Elaine, again, a very emotional, and just with the kind of the female vibe of just asking this question about Daniel Hudson with the paternity leave. All the females are in favor of, well, of course he's going to go home and be with his wife.
the female angle with the guy who's sappy for his wife. Okay.
Yeah.
I see that.
Nothing bad, but just what came to mind with Elaine.
You got Mad Max on there?
I do. Max Scherzer to me is Mandelbaum.
Oh, the guy, like the old guy?
Mandelbaum. Right? Because he's always like, you don't think I can lift that? Oh, I'll lift that.
That's
Max Scherzer's the type of guy, like, you don't think I can do that? I'll do it.
I went Soup-nazi. He's obsessed about with pitching the way that the Nazi's obsessed about soup.
Okay.
No hit for you. No hit for you. No hit. I could see no hit for you.
And if you mess, you try to take him out or do anything, you're kicked out.
Yeah, out forever.
Yeah, that's a good one. Did you do one for Juan Soto?
Soto, yeah.
What'd you get?
Art Vandelay.
Vandelay Industries.
Well, yeah, he's an importer-exporter of home runs. That's good.
Importer.
Vandelay Industries, importer-exporter of latex. He does home runs.
Okay. I put Juan Soto is the double dip chip guy. Remember that episode?
Yep.
You don't dip the double chip.
Or
you don't double dip the chip. They're at a party.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
George is double dipping on the chip.
Correct.
Okay.
And he's a double dipper. He can do it all. He can hit home runs. He can steal bases. Plays good defense.
I like it.
He's really a triple dipper.
Who else you got?
I did one for Anibal Sanchez.
Who you got?
Frank Costanza.
Why?
Because Costanza's kind of that old guy, I think of Festivus. Like, you got to take me down. He has his own sort of way of doing things that's not typical.
He's loud. He's in your face.
Yeah, but I don't even think of that. I don't think of Anibal as I don't know him, but I don't think of him as a loud guy. But he's just like a crafty. Like, I know it's going to be hard for George to take down Frank Costanza, to pin him or whatever for Festivus. Anibal Sanchez, he just does things his own way.
I did Frank for Howie. Because I just think Howie's the funnest guy on the team, and I think Frank's the funnest guy on the team. They're just fun people.
Yeah.
You just want to be around them. I bet they've both got a lot of good stories.
Who else you got?
I got Strasburg.
Okay, going tonight. Who you got with Strasburg?
David Putty. They just put because the germaphobe angle. I could see him being
a car salesman again, right? The guy
Elaine
dates.
Yeah, okay. He's a germaphobe though. I could see Strasburg being very germaphobe.
It's kind of got his routine.
Yes, it's got to be. Everything's got to be perfect.
Okay.
I got the entire bullpen.
Okay, who'd you got for that?
Bob Sacamano. He's on the show, but he never shows up. Kind of like the bullpen.
On the show.
You got to rely on your stars with this bullpen.
This is the guy that Kramer always refers
Kramer's
to.
friend, Bob Sacamano. He's always, you got to go down. My friend Bob Sacamano's doing it. You never actually see him. He doesn't show up for the game. You got to rely on the stars of the show.
Okay.
That was good.
I did do a little bit of a bullpen one.
Who'd you get?
I decided to just go with a guy who's no longer in the team.
Yeah.
Trevor Rosenthal. Mm-hmm. He's Ruth Cohen. So a lot of people don't know Ruth Cohen.
Sure.
She is in terms of a minor character on the show more than anybody else. She's the waitress at that Monk's Cafe.
Okay. So she's always there.
She's always serving. And Rosenthal was serving up a lot of home runs.
Okay.
So I went Trevor
I like
Rosenthal.
it. Yeah, those make sense. I got Doolittle's Kramer, just with the weirdness. It's a very Doolittle for me.
Okay.
Trey Turner, I've got as Newman.
Why?
He gives a mailman vibe. Mailmen are fast. Turner's fast.
Mailmen are fast. Okay.
You got to deliver the mail. The mail's always coming. Turner's always turning things over. Who else you got?
I don't see the Newman one. But the last one I had was Davey Martinez.
Who do you got?
The Marble Rye bread lady. Remember George steals
course,
the bread from the Marble Rye? Because he's always getting games stolen from him by the bullpen.
Okay, I like it. Helixson, I got Tim Watley.
So the dentist?
Yeah.
The shtickle of fluoride guy.
Yeah.
He's dentist just to tell the Jewish jokes or something?
Just to tell the Jewish jokes. Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
Well, it's the whole dentist vibe. I feel like Helixson could be a dentist in another life.
Okay. That's a strange one. Is there a backstory to that or no?
No, it just works for me.
Okay.
You got any more?
I'm done.
Last one, I got a good one.
Okay.
Ryan Zimmerman,
Yeah.
Keith Hernandez.
That's a good one.
They're both first basemen. They both can play they both play great defense. I'm not saying Zimmerman is Hernandez, but he is a character on the show, and Zimmerman, it just fits.
I had one for Trey.
Who'd you got?
Jackie, what's his last name? Childs, I think. He's Kramer's lawyer.
Oh, yes.
The fast talking.
Johnny Cochran.
Yeah.
He's a fake Johnny Cochran.
So he's kind of a fast talker. So before you know it, he's got Kramer doing all these crazy things. Before you know it, Trey Turner's going to be on third base. He's going to kind of quickly steal the bases.
He pushes things along. Okay, that's it for the Seinfeld segment.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is go ahead and call up our guest today, Anthony.
Yeah, give us you can know some background on Anthony. So before we get him on the line, just give us a background on Anthony and
Sure. So Anthony was actually a former, I don't think he'll mind me sharing this, a former patient of mine. He is big in the baseball community. So he has a son. He does a lot of Little League activities. He was a college pitcher himself. He still does a lot of, in terms of knowing pitching mechanics and kind of helping youth athletes out with that. He's on a Little League board, like a board of directors. He is a stats guy, so he works for the local public school systems, and he crunches numbers. So he is big on figuring out like test scores, what we need to do in terms of improving youth's testing, kind of how to go about that. But we really bonded over baseball and sports. He is like a fantasy guru because he just loves to crunch numbers. So kind of like that movie Moneyball, if you've seen that one.
of course.
He would be a Moneyball guy. Like
Brad Pitt. Who doesn't like Brad Pitt?
Right. This guy gets walked. Well,
Is he Brad Pitt or is he Jonah?
He's Jonah.
What's Jonah's last name?
I don't know. I don't know.
Super bad guy.
So we're going to talk to Anthony today. One about just the Major League Baseball. He follows baseball more than anybody I know. He is a Cubs fan, but he's also a Nats fan since he's been here. But he'll have good insight on kind of what he sees in terms of future. And we're going to talk about a little bit of Little League, see what he's doing with his local Little League team, kind of what trends he's seeing. And then he's also in our podcast fantasy league, so we'll talk a little bit about
Anthony is currently in 7th place, but looking to break 500. He's got some bad beats. Okay, we're going to get Anthony on the line. Talk some analytics. Love the analytics. Take analytics all day, right?
Oh, yeah.
Love the analytics. Got to go with your gut in the end, though. It's all go with the gut.
See, I think that's the opposite of what you do.
I'm the gut guy.
Yeah, Will.
Hey, Anthony, you're on the podcast with me and Mark. How's it going?
Oh, hey, good, Dr. Mark. How are you?
Excellent. How are you?
Good, man, good. What's going on, guys?
Well, go ahead.
You just Anthony, give us some background on you and some of your sports history or some of the stuff that you do with numbers and crunching stats.
Sure, yeah, no problem. So sports history. I grew up playing baseball and basketball. Played baseball in high school, pitched in college. Went to some tryouts after college. Nothing ever stuck. And so I came back home and started my teaching career. And then I had taught in the classroom for, 11 years maybe.
In college, you got any famous names you ever play with in baseball?
Yeah, there were a couple who
Name drops?
played in our conference. I pitched at Guilford College, a D3 school in the ODAC, the Old Dominion Athletic Conference. So we played a lot of like Randolph-Macon, Virginia Wesleyan, Bridgewater, Shenandoah Methodists, Christopher Newport.
D3
guys
baseball.
they played with, so Eric Kratz,
Yeah.
he's had a big league career as a catcher. We were the same year, so we played against each other every year.
That's a good one.
Yeah, actually, a guy that pitched for us, his name was Chad Coward. He was a right-handed pitcher in the Rays minor league system. He was our minor league pitcher of the year before he hurt his shoulder, had shoulder surgery, and that ended his career. But yeah, no, he had a wipeout slider. There was actually a guy. So you remember WWE when they did their very first Tough Enough, where they would have young people come try out to be on the in the system.
Yep.
Maven Huffman.
Maven, yes.
Yeah, so he played at Eastern Mennonite University. They were in our conference, so didn't ever pitch against him, but when I was younger, he played against us.
Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. So a handful of guys, some guys that played in the minors after that.
No, awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Well, let's talk professional baseball. So obviously, right now, the Nats, as we speak, are playing the Cardinals. I think it was 1-0 last I checked. I don't know the score now. But just overall takes of the Nationals, wild card game, and then also this series so far, taking a 2-0 lead.
Nats are up 4-0.
Nats are up 4-0 right now. What just overall takes from this series? Do you think the Nats are going to win this series? Do you still see a concern?
Honestly, I was just talking to some people about this today, and tonight's really affirming it. It reminds me so much of when the Cubs were on their way to win the series in 2016.
Anthony, that's crazy. That's crazy you said that. I said to someone, it reminds me of when the Red Sox were chasing their first one and they pulled that amazing down 3-0 to the Yankees. I had the same feel watching it. It's just like, this is happening.
Oh yeah, and the funny thing is, like, one of the things I feel like really has to happen for a team like. For a team to make that kind of winning streak in the playoffs and really close it out is everybody has to be playing at their best or over their heads at the same time, and everybody's doing it. Like every national that steps to the plate is taking aggressive hacks and looks confident at the plate. Scherzer's being Scherzer. Strasburg, it's the first time. And I saw it this season a little bit more than I had in previous years, but it's the first time he really looks confident and aggressive where he's challenging people to hit the ball rather than just trying to make a good pitch. And he's got lights out stuff. It's amazing. But I feel like in the playoffs, it's really become more of that kind of Madison Bumgarner in his prime kind of guy who just says, yeah, here it is. Can you hit it? Probably not. Good luck.
Yeah, interesting. It reminds me of the old movie Angels in the Outfield. Like, did you see that play? I'm sure you did. Ryan Zimmerman, like old man Zim, diving to his right to catch that line drive and save the no-hitter.
That was McConaughey in Angels in the Outfield.
Yeah, that was like...
The Angels picked him up.
I think if we slow-moed it, we'd see some little angel wings that kind of like pushing him to the right to dive for that ball.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were little McConaugheys carrying him along.
You would definitely see something, but like that's the kind of stuff where everything's happening, things are going well. So yeah, they're looking great. Not to jinx them or anything, but they're looking solid right now. If they can handle St. Louis, it'll be a real test whether they play Houston or the Yankees. So
Will's calling me a Yankees fan because I want them to beat so I'm rooting for the Yankees to get to the World Series because I want the Nats to beat the Yankees. It'll be so much sweeter for me.
You're almost starting to sound like a bitter Cubs fan, man. I hear you.
Mm-hmm. I hate to be the bearer of bad news or the realist. I am a Nats fan right now. Generally speaking, I like the Orioles, but that's been a rough few years.
Just can't root for the Orioles.
I was watching the game last night of the Astros and the Yankees, and I think it was like for several innings. I think somebody was telling me that it was like 6 or 7 innings. The bullpens were not giving up a single hit, and it was just like the bullpens were just shutting them down. And I think that if the Nats have been fortunate enough in the first 2 games where their starters have gone deep into the games and they didn't need much of a bullpen, they had a lead. Looks like today's might be going the same way. We're going into the 5th inning. Strasburg looks good. We got a 4-0 lead. Maybe you don't need those long relief. But if we get in a situation where a starter's going 5 or 6 innings, I don't see the Nats winning that game if it's close. I think the advantage completely goes to the other team, regardless who they're playing, Cardinals, Astros, or Yankees. And I think we just haven't seen it yet because we've gotten incredible games so far from Anibal, Scherzer, and Strasburg.
I got a good gut feeling. I'm telling you, something special's brewing.
Yeah, I guess Sanchez is definitely pitching out of his mind, and honestly, good for him. I do think if you've got Scherzer and Strasburg that are going to throw, games 1 and 2, 4 and 5, and 7 in a 5-game set, you've got a great chance to win. Especially with the Yankees and Astros not seeing Scherzer and Strasburg a whole lot. So I tend to feel like pitchers have an advantage if it's new matchups. But the Astros also have Cole and Verlander. So it's going to be a question of can the Nationals handle the opposing staff as hitters better than the Yankees or Astros can handle the National staff. And it'll be exciting to watch if they can get to the World Series. So we'll see.
Who do you think I think if Nationals win tonight, which it's only the 5th inning, but looks like they may win. They'll have a demanding 3-0 lead. I would fully expect them to win one of the next 4, especially with Scherzer and Strasburg probably getting another shot at it. The other series is the more interesting one game apiece, and it just seems like more of a battle. In my opinion, two better teams than what seem to be on the National League side. Who do you got in the Astros-Yankees?
Honestly, I totally agree. Last night and the night before were both, it was like a heavyweight slugfest pretty much. Even with the Yankees winning big in their first game, it's still, there's more of, the pitchers can't take any at bat off because everyone in the Yankees and Astros lineup can take you deep and hurt you, and there is no break anywhere. I think it's up. I think the Astros bats, as soon as they wake up, are going to be hard to shut down. And if Garrett Cole and Verlander can find their form again, it's going to be tough for the Yankees to beat either of them the rest of the way. The Yankees got a good bullpen, but you also got to get there. Pulling James Paxton so early last night,
right?
Thank God the relievers were able to keep the lead and shut the door. So,
yeah, I think he went 2 1/3 last night, and they pulled him.
Oh, it was shocking. It really was shocking that Boone just wasted no time. And honestly, it was one of those things that reminded me when the Cubs were in it. Joe Madden, he only had a handful of guys that he trusted. Hendricks would come out early. Arrieta came out early. Neither guy was happy about it. But it's going to be tough. If the Astros bats can wake up, I think they'll come back and take the series. If they can't, they're still not hitting. Then it's going to be the Yankees. I think Game 3 will be a really big tell. If the Astros can take Game 3, I feel like they can take the rest of the series and come back.
Yeah, we talked a little bit last week. We had somebody asked us a question about home field advantage and different sports that we feel like where home field advantage matters more than other sports. I think we both agree that baseball is not a sport where home field advantage matters.
If it does, it's the
much.
Least out of the sports. And we think.
Oh, for sure. No, I was listening to your cast and heard that one too. Baseball is such an individualized sport. I feel like if you've got a pitcher with a mindset of, here, hit this, who has just unwavering confidence, you can silence 40,000 people pretty quickly. I actually feel like the sport where home team and really kind of home ice advantage is hockey. Certain football stadiums are tough to play in, but again, with football, you got 11 guys out there, and so I feel like a team can kind of overcome that a little bit. And the NBA's fixed anyway, so the refs are going to, call fouls on whoever they want to win. That's a whole different conversation.
A bold claim.
It's accurate. We should do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah. The NBA, FIFA, and the IOC. We could talk for hours. But I think in hockey, actually, and folks that have been to hockey playoff games, not just in Washington, but in hardcore, deep, hockey towns, when you talk about anywhere in Canada, you talk about up in Boston, in Detroit in the heyday, home ice advantage can be absolutely huge. I think more so than the other big three.
Cool.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's talk Little League for a bit.
Yeah.
So you are on the board. We tried getting you last week, but you had the board meeting.
Yes.
And then this week's got canceled, so we were able to get you on. So what's going on with the Little Leaguer, and what are you guys working on?
Yeah, so both my kids play Little League. My daughter is finishing T-ball. My son is finishing single A. My son plays basketball in the winter in the off season. My daughter does gymnastics. So we stay active. They can pretty much choose whatever activity they want as long as they're staying active, right? Healthy mind, healthy heart, healthy body.
I like that.
And for right now, for Little League, we're wrapping up. With T-ball, it's super fun. I coach both the kids. And with T-ball, we really have two goals. Number one is that you're having fun. And number two is that you want to come back again next week. I tell the parents, if by the end of the season, the kids know the right way to run around the bases and they come back and they want to play again, then goal achieved. Ultimately, it's something where you want kids to have a good time playing a team sport and learning a little bit more as they go. Skills-wise in T-ball, we only have a few things that we really just kind of focus on repetition. When we're swinging, we swing with our hands and our hips. We get our hands high, and we swing full, and we run to first base.
Good advice
when we're
for
in
kids.
the field, we're always baseball ready. We bend our knees like an athlete, and we put our hands out front. So when the ball comes, we're ready to catch. And when we throw, again, we use our hands and our hips. We put our hand high, and then when we throw, we twist our hips, and we throw hard at our partner. And just keep it super simple. Make sure everybody's having a good time. And we want them to come back. We want them to keep playing.
That's awesome.
Has there ever been a time where, the kid has just missed hitting the ball off the tee for the fifth time and you just get a little bit of anger deep down?
What's the record for most misses in your Little League history? What's T-ball misses? What do you think the record is?
No, it's fun because it's so fun to see, and we have a couple 4-year-olds, some 4, 5, and 6-year-olds out here, and some of them are super excited to play. Some of them are playing because their friends are playing. But even when they miss the tee, it's you can tell that they're really trying. And I think I've been lucky because you see some T-ball teams, and different kids have different attention spans. Some can last for an inning, some can last for a swing, and then they're digging in the dirt. And ultimately, they're 4, 5, and 6. That's going to happen. Baseball's a game of patience, and developmentally, if they dig in the dirt a little bit, we'll let that go.
An explorer, you got to encourage that too. We need archaeologists. There has to be archaeologists.
Oh, absolutely.
Not everybody's going to go to the pros.
That's right. Not everybody's going to be a baseball player, so you got to learn to dig in the dirt a little bit. But no, with the swing, ultimately it's hey, just see the ball. We're going to swing hard, and when they do, then you cheer them on. And I've got a great group of parents. I have, I want to say four other dads on the field with me. So, every kid's always getting a whole lot of attention, and not every team is that lucky. So, at this age when they're young, it's you want them to have fun, and if you can get parents to volunteer and make it super simple, right? We're not trying to hit line drives off a tee into a target. It's hey, swing hard, run to first, and then high five.
That's great.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, let's move on to your fantasy football team.
Yeah.
We've got it pulled up here. It looks like you're in a dogfight this week.
First of all, we got a He-Man theme going on here. Heroes of Eternia.
Yeah.
I love that.
Heroes of Eternia, man. That's right. We're coming at you.
So, Anthony, you right now are 2-3, which is 7th place out of 12th.
Yep.
He's had some bad beats.
He has had some bad beats. Right now, you are playing Alex Cruz.
And he just took the lead. Anthony, what I love about your team is that it's about the heart and depth. You went deep and strong at running back, and you swung and missed and had some bad luck at some easier positions to usually fill. How do you feel about your team?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's one of those teams that when you're done with the draft, you look at your team and you're like, yeah, okay, that team ought to finish in the top half and get me to the playoffs. And there's not really anyone other than Zeke that, I'm excited every Sunday. Like, oh my gosh, this person could totally go off. But, I feel like I went deep at running back, and we kind of talked about that in the draft. I feel like it's a little bit easier to play quarterback roulette.
You've had bad luck with it, though. You have literally the two most disappointing quarterbacks in fantasy football on your roster. Winston and Goff not performing. What are you doing moving forward at quarterback?
You know what? So it has been pretty brutal. But
I think they're the two most disappointing.
No, they've done what they're supposed to do. Like, honestly, when you look at where I'm scoring right now, and thank God the Packers just put Aaron Jones back in to get me that 0.5 of a point.
Did you watch the game Sunday morning? It was very difficult to watch James play.
It was really tough because he's throwing for a ton of yards, which is great.
400.
And
5 turnovers.
It was fabulous. And the 5 picks and the fumbles really didn't help. But no, the rest of the way, it's the teams. They're doing what they're supposed to do. I'm gonna stick with my roulette, the 3 that I have. I looked at their upcoming schedules. They have a couple games left against Atlanta. Among the 3 of them, they've got a couple left against other teams that have had pretty weak pass defenses so far. And based on what else is out there on the wire,
Stafford's out there, by the way, and I think he's no touchdown so far tonight, but I think he could start heating up here. They said they wanted to run the ball this year. They're not doing that.
Yeah, you know what? And Stafford's a guy who I feel like if they would just commit one way or the other, so he could figure out kind of what their game plan is going to be. Either they're going to throw the ball a ton or be a balanced team, but don't go back and forth because that doesn't help anybody. I'd take a look at him, but no, I still think, especially with Gurley's injury, right? So, hopefully Goff's going to need to throw the ball a little bit more. Jameis is throwing the ball a ton. He's just throwing picks. So stop throwing the guys in the other color jersey. And then with Hunter Henry coming back, Phillip Rivers has another weapon.
Oh, there you go. That's a big one.
So,
and you lost Disley, too. Disley's done for the year.
Yep, yeah, he's going to be dropped this week. I don't think I'm going to pick up another tight end. I mean, I see what's available out there, and it really kind of depends on what else I might want to do at running back or receiver. But it just with whatever's left, using a 6th-round pick on Jared Cook, that just didn't pan out whatsoever.
But he tanked, and now his values come up again a little bit. From a stats guy perspective, is there anything on a week-to-week basis from stats that you're looking at to help you with fantasy football? Do you use any websites or?
Yeah, so I go to there's a couple different websites. So one that I like is Fantasy Football Today. So fftoday.com. I think they do their rankings are usually a little bit different than other websites. I like how they tier people by position. I also like that generally how I might rank players is a little bit different than them, so I get a different perspective, not just something that validates my thinking, but something that will kind of challenge a little bit more about what I want. I do look at a team's defense against the pass or the run when I'm trying to think about who I'm going to start. But ultimately, like a lot of the work that I try and do is during the draft or pre-draft, and especially for the first 6 weeks of the season, teams are still figuring out who they are. And guys that I liked a month and a half ago, I still like, unless the situation has majorly changed. There's some things that are a bit frustrating, like the fact that Jamal Williams is still on the field as much as he is.
Everyone is frustrated with that.
It's killing me. And Aaron Jones is a horse.
Aaron Jones, give him his credit. That's his nickname. He's the UTEP two-step, and he two-steps it, man. Why is Jamal Williams playing?
It's beyond me. So this is actually pretty interesting. What preseason, it wouldn't have affected what I did. But LaFleur was in Tennessee before he came to Green Bay. And in Tennessee, he insisted on splitting carries between Derrick Henry and Deion Lewis.
Until he decided to not do that, and then Henry went off, and the team was good.
Exactly. And so now that he's in Green Bay, and he's sitting here like splitting kids, it's killing me. And Aaron Rodgers in the offseason, all offseason, was saying how much he loved having a bell cow, how much he loved Aaron Jones. He's got a tough guy between the tackles downhill, and then they're having him split carries. It's like, come on, guys.
Infuriating.
But no, I mean, one of the things about fantasy that I've actually thought about trying to set up a league where everybody scores points and the top 6 teams get the bottom 6 teams get a loss. And here's why it's kind of weird. So out of these 6 weeks, like this week, I'm not going to score a whole lot. 3 of the weeks, I have been a top 3 scorer, and I won 2 of those weeks.
You beat me, I think, by less than a point. And I think you were 1 and I was 2.
Oh, dude. Okay, so I'm going to come back to that in a minute. The other 3 weeks, I've been one of the bottom 3 scorers, which I'm including this week. And unless Aaron Jones fumbles again, now that I've taken the lead, I'm going to win. Which is just kind of a weird way to look at it. I know there's another team, the Dude Abides. I don't know who that is.
It's a good team name.
Yeah, good name.
Who is that?
I'm not even sure who that is, but the total points is, I want to say, like one of the 3 or 4 lowest in the league.
It's the second lowest.
Was 4-1.
Second lowest, yep.
Yep, he's 4-1.
Yeah, and was 4-1. So some of it's all matchups.
I have another league where I'm 2-4. I'm going to be 2-4 after tonight, and I'm leading in points by over 50. It's ridiculous.
See, and that's the kind of thing. So, like, ultimately, like, my team hasn't completely panned out as much as I'd like, but I mean, my receivers, Boyd hasn't panned out. I bet big on him in the 4th round. It hasn't really worked so far, but Cortland Sutton's come around. If Amari Cooper's out, Michael Gallup's going to be big in the second half. Of the season.
And Sanders got hurt too. That could push targets towards Sutton even more.
Yeah, so I'm
Joe Flacco
feeling okay. I'm going to write out who I have. I don't see any major changes. But yeah, so Beckham, funny story. This, for people who have tons of teams, in another money league I'm in, I had Beckham, and I was losing. I want to say I was losing by like 2 points, and in our league, I was winning by 2. In our league, I was losing by 2, and so the Beckham fumble shifted it to me by less than a point in our league and cost me in the other league.
I swear, I had this exact same thing happen. The exact same thing happened to me. It happened in our league. No, that was our league. I had Odell going against you. The fumble let you beat me. That's what it was. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm watching, the only thing that can help me in this in a 150-point week is if he fumbles. And then he decides to hold the ball with one hand, knock it out. So, yeah. Crazy stuff, man.
Saved you in our league.
Yep. Well, I can tell you, Anthony, in our league, I'm moving to 5-1, and you do have more total points than I do. So
you're gonna go to 5-1? How'd you get to 5-1?
Hey, you know what though? Like, hey, if that's how it shakes out, that's how it shakes out, man. Like, sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug. It was, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I was in a league where I ended up winning only because none of my guys had injuries, and I happened to play every other team on like one of their worst weeks. I wasn't even in the top half of total points, and won without much, fanfare involved, just because it was one of those sneaky, depends on who you play kind of things.
But that's why we play the games. I wouldn't change it for a second, even if you could never convince me to change it. I like it that way. Yeah.
So what I could do, one of the leagues I'm in, we actually play against 2 different teams in a week, to try and, give people a bit more of a chance. And it's interesting to see how that works out. I like the league. I don't think everybody should switch to it, but it's nice to play in one. I could do a league without kickers.
So I like kickers for edge because a lot of people won't pay attention to their kicker. They're like, it doesn't matter every week who they put in. And I'll actually research, like, I poll the experts and who is the highest rated kicker from that day. I'll pick them up. So kickers sometimes give me edge because people don't care about them, and the matchups do, high offenses are more likely kickers to score points. But yeah, they're still boring parts of the game.
Yeah, I could do without the kickers. I think another place where I get burned sometimes is defenses. And like in our draft, I took the Chargers and I took the Saints. I like both of their pass rushes, just to kind of see how that would shake out over the first couple weeks. And I want to say even by week 3, the Saints were gone, and I'm just going with Chargers the rest of the way. But I mean, I took them late, didn't go super early. But
Yeah, get Joey Bosa rolling. You'll be good.
Yeah, no, I think they'll be fine. They've had some injuries, but no, I still feel confident. I like who they are, and they're not a top 10 defense, but they do enough to get the job done. They're not going to hurt me a whole lot. So
excellent.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, well, thanks for coming on the show.
And if anybody's got stat questions out there, we can feed them along to Anthony. Anthony from Fairfax.
Yeah, in Fairfax. And ultimately, I think so I love reading through stats. I think part of what I try and tell people, and actually, my son, I think I mentioned last time, so he's got a couple fantasy football teams. What I try and tell him is use the data that you have available. Sometimes data comes in the form of numbers. Sometimes it comes in the form of observations. Really just kind of paying attention to as much input as you can have. And then, not trying to jump too quickly on something. Like, especially early in the season, right? If you find yourself chasing stats, think about the first 2 weeks. There were so many guys who were undrafted, who had big days, maybe scored touchdowns, and all of a sudden people started dropping guys that they had drafted. 2 weeks shouldn't change your mind on a player. I think at this point, players, you kind of start to know who guys are and what teams are going to do. You get it's a little bit murky with some guys like Jared Cook. I'm probably going to ride him out through the rest of the year, and I'm going to need a lot of Pepto-Bismol to go with it.
Yep, I'm with you on that.
But yeah, input as much as you can and make a decision, own it, and go with it.
Okay, Anthony, as we get some more questions, we're going to have you on again at some point, maybe this season or toward the end of it.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
But thanks for coming on, Anthony from Fairfax.
Yeah, you bet. Have a good night.
Great, you too. All right, good input from Anthony there, getting some great stat information, some fun stuff about his team. We were off last week because Will was smooching Sammy Darnold, and they were both out with some sickness. But they're both happy and healthy now, so we should be back weekly from here on out.
That's right. Just to clarify, I did not get mono.
Yeah, Will's good.
So we want a poll question for the week.
Okay.
Let's do Astros Yankees. It looks like the Nationals scored even more since we've been on here.
Okay.
It looks like they're cruising to a win. So we'll assume that's a tough assumption, but we'll assume that with the Nats potentially taking a 3-0 lead, that they're going to.
Don't say it.
Nats are a lock. There's no possible way
it.
that the Nats could lose this series.
But
anyways, who do you think is going to come out of the AL? Do you think it's going to be
Yanks or Stros?
Yanks or Astros? Mark is rooting for the Yankees.
Correct.
Not because he's a Yankees fan, but because
it'd be more painful if they could lose in the World Series.
Right. And deep down there may be a few Yankees guys that you do like.
No.
All right, so keep the questions coming.
We love the questions. They're building up. We're trying to stay on all of them, but keep the questions coming.
All right. Over and out.
Over and out.